The Death Mage Who Doesn't Want a Fourth Time. Volume 3 Character Summary. Vandaloo. Our main character, who is now 6 years old. His personality has not changed. However, it is now clear that he prefers ketchup over mayonnaise. He became a king before becoming a nobleman, but he believes he needs to work hard now that he is the king, so he multiplies his heads and arms to complete his work quickly, and lives life just as he did before. Talosheim has already become his third home. He is trying to set up environmentally friendly golem factories for the manufacturing of processed food, flavorings, straw paper, clothes, and soap. He is doing this to increase the quality of life for Talosheim's inhabitants, but he is also doing it to produce future commercial products and tourism features. Recently, he has been thinking about taking water from the waterways and making pools, wondering if making swimsuits should come first. Cesare, who has recently become his subordinate, presses him to create a currency and a national flag. His days are fulfilling. Going against the assumptions of Alda, the Marshal, the pure-breed vampires, and the Emperor, he plans on finally journeying to the Orbomb Kingdom next year. He is actually made from a combination of the souls of 4 champions, including Zakhard, whose souls were broken 100,000 years ago. But as he doesn't have his former memories or the power of the champions, he isn't aware of this. It was 100,000 years ago, after all. Incidentally, if the current Vandaloo's fighting abilities were to be evaluated using the Adventurer Guild's system, without any magic, he would be considered to be in the upper D class. If using only no attribute magic, C class. If he used death attribute magic as well, B class, as death attribute magic is still an unknown form of magic. If he were to lead his undead and golems and spread disease, he would be equivalent to S-class. However, he is more suited to fighting large groups of enemies of moderate strength rather than fighting a single tremendously powerful enemy. He would also struggle against an enemy who comes at him with a single attack that he has poured everything into. If this enemy has trustworthy allies to back him up, Vandaloo would not be able to avoid being at a disadvantage. Pavina, a half-noble orc girl who will turn 3 years old this year. However, her size has already surpassed the 6-year-old Vandaloo by a large margin. Her status is more like a human's, as she has a job and no rank. However, she could be considered equivalent to a beast person, a race created by Vita. She gets along well with Rahapesage and the other children, acting as something of an One-san to them. She has been given an iron mace by Vandaloo, so she doesn't skip her daily training with club technique. She is the kind of little girl who beats her enemies to death. It also seems that she has graduated from throwing Vandaloo into the air. With her current fighting strength, she would easily defeat an E-class adventurer, and although she would not lose to a D-class adventurer, it would not be an easy victory. If she faced a party of D-class adventurers, she would be defeated. Rahapesage, a patchwork zombie that Vandaloo created by sewing together the remains of Mikhail's party members. The body of the female mage, whose body had been most intact, was used as her upper base, while her head is that of the female warrior. Her limbs below the elbows and knees are those of the ogre, and there are pterodon wings attached to her back. There is a cemetery bee stinger attached to a snake's tail, and her broken bones have been replaced by reshaped bones of a triceratops. Her organs are those taken from monsters, and the skin and muscles of her torso were sewn together with materials from the female warrior and monsters. Vandaloo had the spirits floating around Talosheim possess her and turn her into a zombie. As a result, she has a youthful, beautiful face and an adult body with abundant curves. Her skin is pale, dark, and dark green skin held together by subtle stitches, giving a corrupt-looking contrast, and her limbs are those of an ogre's, capable of easily crushing an adult man's head. There are wings on her back and a tail protruding from her waist, so it is difficult to tell what she is with one glance. As the spirits of the owners of the bodies were not present because too much time had passed since their deaths, Rahapisaje's intelligent and mental age are equivalent to a young child's, and she cannot use magic. She has quite a gluttonous personality and has a particular liking for mayonnaise and ketchup. During the defense of Talosheim, she successfully increased her rank after defeating numerous noble-born vampires, who were far superior to her. Incidentally, she remembers absolutely nothing about the Merg Shield Nation. Sam. Likely the world's only carriage undead that possesses an orichalcum spear. Due to orichalcum's special properties, it can easily break through barriers that are not cast by first-rate mages with exceptional intelligence, spurring on Sam's rampages even further. Among those he ran over, there was someone who had a connection to the noble family that he served when he was still alive, but he doesn't care. What bothers him more is his daughters, whose bodies are now excessively exposed. He worries about what will happen when their ranks increase even further. He has been appointed as a civil official of Talosheim, but rather than being busy with work, he is busy making preparations for work. His rank also increased during the defense of Talosheim. He went from being a blood carriage to a murder carriage, becoming an ever-increasingly sinister carriage. As he wields an orichalcum spear, D-class adventurers are nothing but sources of experience points for him. Even a C-class adventurer would find it extremely difficult to face Sam on his own. Furthermore, due to the fact that he has acquired the space expansion skill, the inside of his carriage is 3 times larger than it appears from the outside, increasing his utility even further. Saria and Rita. The sisters, who have regained sexy bodies fitting their high-leg armor and bikini armor due to the leveling of their spirit form skill. At first glance, they look like young human women, but on closer inspection their skin is so white it appears that they are covered in thick candle wax, and no signs of blood vessels are visible, let alone blood. However, other features would draw the eyes of men before they could inspect them that closely. But the sisters appear to feel no embarrassment as they consider their armor their main bodies. Their appearances have changed, but as spirit form is something that replaces the loss of their body's flesh and functions, their overall strength has increased remarkably. As Vandaloo has made them wear capes to hide their stimulating backsides, their physical and magical defenses have increased as well. They have acquired bodies that cannot grow fat, so the sisters are obsessed with the foods and flavorings that Vandaloo has reproduced in Lambda. However, they have realized that their original occupation of being maids has been neglected because they have only been training in martial skills recently, so they have begun practicing housework and sewing. If these two are faced together, even a C-class adventurer party would have a high chance of being defeated. Bastia. As she is raising her daughter Jadal, she has stopped progressing and remains a ghoul Amazoness. However, due to Vandaloo's mana boot camp, her mana has increased and she has acquired several magic-related skills. Jadal has been weaned, so Bastia has started learning how to cook recently. Her current specialty dishes are roast meat and roast skewered meat. Incidentally, she is the only opponent that Vandaloo is currently able to defeat in shogi. Her ability is above that of an average C-class adventurer, but below that of a B-class adventurer. Zadiris. After the defense of Talosheim, she has been busy leveling with Borkus, Vigaro, and Vandaloo by visiting the B-class dungeon, Baragen's Fall Life Mountain, once a month. However, because her rank is high, it seems that her leveling is quite slow. However, she spends fulfilling days in Talosheim, playing with her granddaughter, unconcerned with the fact that they look like sisters with a large age difference. Although she has been appointed as Talosheim's court mage, there isn't really any additional work for her. Most of her work is work that she has been doing since before she became a court mage. Her rank has increased, and she has become a Ghoul elder mage, and her field of vision has increased due to the third eye that has appeared on her forehead. But apparently it doesn't provide much use for vision. If only fighting battles of magic, her ability is close to a B-class adventurer. Vigaro. His rank has increased and he has become a Ghoul tyrant, a status that is legendary among ghouls. He has become so prominent that if he were to be seen in an area inhabited by humans, the Adventurers Guild would gather every adventurer around to take him down. However, he himself is not aware of anything other than the fact that he has become strong. The person he is dating now will soon give birth to a child, so he is living life with enthusiasm. The gap between him and Borkus has grown wider as Borkus's rank has increased, so he is fired up about battle as well. Incidentally, he is the one who taught Vandaloo the unarmed fighting technique of the ghouls. However, he has already been surpassed in proficiency with the unarmed fighting technique itself. Bothered by this, he has started training an unarmed fighting technique in addition to his training with his axe. He has become one of Talosheim's military officers, but he simply thinks, I just have to hunt some monsters, right? His life isn't any different from before. In a one-on-one battle, he would defeat the average B-class adventurer. Borkus. In his battle against Riley, he remembered a technique and even turned it into a superior skill. Though his race title has not changed, his rank has increased. He has dealt with the ghosts of his past a little, so he feels greatly satisfied with his own achievements. He has mostly regained the ability he had while alive, and his stamina has surpassed what it was back then. A rank 10 monster would be enough to cause panic in a city of tens of thousands if spotted, but in Borkus's case, as he has the appearance of a Titan zombie, he can pass for a rank 3 or 4 monster unless he demonstrates strength himself or an insightful individual sees his true power. Because of this, he is thinking of pretending to be a zombie, but his zombie friends tell him that it's impossible, and that he is terrible at acting like a zombie. Like Vigaro, he was appointed as one of Talosheim's military officers, but has now thrown all of his work onto Cesare, who is supposed to be in a higher position than him. But as he takes the undead of the former expedition army with him when he hunts, it can be said that he works by training the new members. His favorite foods are mayonnaise and soups containing dashi. Nuaza. He has become the leader of the Church of Vida in Talosheim. He protested to this, telling Vandaloo that he is not worthy, but Vandaloo's retort was to say that he wasn't fit to be king either, so that ended the argument. However, since Nuaza has basically been managing the church on his own, nothing has really changed even after he assumed this position. He is preaching Vita's teachings to the new undead of the expedition army, but there are living armors with no physical bodies among them, so he is having a little difficulty in communicating with them. His race title is Lich, but because he received an orichalcum mace from Vandaloo and was proficient in hand-to-hand combat to begin with, his magic has completely become something of a trump card at this point. Because of this, even though he has reached level 100, his rank has not increased for him to become a High Lich. Perhaps due to this imbalance, his strength in battle seems strangely close to that of a C-class adventurer, but not quite. Bone Man. His rank has increased for him to become a Viscount, and his appearance now sets him apart from normal skeletons. His presence is so impressive that Vandaloo would be overshadowed if he stood next to Bone Man. He has recently acquired the Mount skill, fitting for a knight, but riding Knohen seems like it would cause Bone Man to become incorporated into Knohen, so he is unable to make use of it. That is why he is requesting Vandaloo to create a dragon zombie, or bone dragon, but as it is more effective to turn these into materials for equipment to be distributed to everyone, rather than creating a single creature that would take time to grow strong, this has been postponed. But as victory was achieved in the defense of Talosheim, Vandaloo has decided to turn the next hunted dragon into a bone dragon, though he is now facing the harsh reality of the world as dragons have stopped appearing. Because of this, he is currently using a bone Tyrannosaurus as a mount. When mounted, Bone Man's strength in battle is equivalent to multiple C-class adventurers. Knohen. Knohen became a rank 8 Union of Bones before the defense of Talosheim. Its appearance is that of a combination of countless bones, a beast the size of a mansion. Knohen is a powerful monster. Attacks that would effectively break the skulls and backbones of normal skeletons are ineffective on it, as it replaces its broken bones with the bone form manipulation skill. It is noteworthy that the bones of earth dragons and rock dragons have been absorbed by Knohen's body, while normal unions of bones would not have these. Its defense is as solid as steel. It is a monster that the Adventurers Guild would designate as a disaster. If it were discovered, the guild would send out compulsory requests and form an extermination squad. The Adventurers Guild itself is not aware of this, and nobody else knows either. Knohen's very existence is rare, so it's not well known as Goblin Kings. It frequently flies in the skies above Talosheim, but apparently Vandaloo is riding inside of it around 1 in 10 times. Eleonora. She is a beautiful, noble-born vampire who has become a vampire viscount, undergone a job change to vassal warrior, and even conquered sunlight. As a result of doing her best to get stronger for Vandaloo's sake, she has indeed become strong, but she is a little troubled by the fact that her master is busy with housework. Vandaloo gave her the power to overcome the sun and executed a plan that allowed her to defeat Isla, a clearly superior foe. Her belief that Vandaloo is a more fearsome being than the pure-breed vampires has grown even deeper. Isla and the vampires, who became vampire zombies, have become Eleonora's subordinates. Her current objective is to have all of them acquire the sunlight resistance skill. Taria. She is an ambitious person who wants Vandaloo to control the entire continent. She feels younger after having undergone youth transformation, so she is seriously considering using her own body to curry favor with Vandaloo, something she did not consider before. But she believes that being forceful would not be wise, so she diligently made arms for the defense of Talosheim as part of a plan to act the woman who supports him from the shadows. She is also the only one in the group of women around Vandaloo who does not feel a sense of risk at her lack of ability to do housework. "I have my craftsmanship," she tells herself as she continues to create arms. In addition, with Saria and Rita regaining their bodies, there has been a slight change in the bust rankings since the end of the second volume, but she and Bastia still fight for the top spot. If Darcia is included, there is a third contestant for this spot. Incidentally, fourth place is currently held by Saria and Rita in a tie, while Eleonora is sixth. Seventh place and below belongs to Katya and Bilde. Last of all is Zadiris. Braga, the first ninja in Lambda. The experience points he gained in defense of Talosheim allowed him to become a Black Goblin Ninja Adept. He can probably be considered equivalent to a Chunin. His ability in battle puts professional assassins to shame, possibly because Vandaloo deliberately neglected to tell him that combat is not the essence of being a ninja, and that ninjas are supposed to conceal themselves. He is becoming unusually proficient at assassinating enemies head-on. He has a mischievous appearance with a pointed nose and slanted eyes, but he has a earnest personality. Because of this, he and the other black goblins were engrossed with their training and have realized only recently that most of the members of the other new races, such as Gorba and Memediga, are now in relationships.
"We want relationships with people as well.
Do you want to come with me to the Orbom Kingdom next year?" A conversation like this has apparently taken place. Of course, there is no guarantee that Braga and the others will find lovers even if they do go to the Orbom Kingdom. It seems that Vandaloo has the insensitive, savage idea of buying slaves before returning to Talosheim if they really could not find anything in the Orbom Kingdom. Incidentally, all of the Black Goblins became Black Goblin Ninjas following the defense of Talosheim. If all of them moved together, they would have the power to kill all of the important people in a medium to small-sized town of several thousand in a single night. Alda. He was originally the god of the light attribute, but because he took Vida's divinity, something that is necessary for gods to manage and rule over the world, he now rules over the light attribute and is known as the god of law and fate. His personality is conservative, and his principles are old-fashioned. He hates change and believes that people should live each day as they did the day before, under the order that he has created. He believes that this is happiness. That was why he chose Bellwood as his champion, as Alda thought that he shared the same beliefs. Covering the losses leading up to the Demon King's defeat, the loss of over 99% of the population, and the incapacitation of all of the gods except for him and Vida, Alda believes that the destruction of the souls of Zakart and the other three creation-minded heroes was something that should have been avoided at all costs. But at the same time, considering Vida's reckless behavior, at least reckless from Alda's point of view, he wonders if the fall of Zakart and his companions was a good thing, or perhaps Vida would not have acted so rashly if that had not happened. As a result of all of this thinking, he has decided that there is no use in worrying about events of the past, so he has sealed this away in the depths of his memories. His objective is to destroy Vida's races, just like the evil gods, but he does not truly believe that Vida's races are evil. He is simply destroying them because it is necessary to protect the order in the circle of transmigration. This is why he feels no remorse over it. He believes that this is something that must be completed for the sake of those who have been sacrificed, including the members of Vida's races who have been exterminated, so he has no intention of changing his mind. His information regarding Vandaloo was interrupted by Gordon and the others becoming undead, and Rodcart has not shared any information with him either, so he is unaware that Vandaloo is able to break souls. However, he does know that Vandaloo commands undead and golems, turns even saints into zombie servants, and creates diseases, so he is already beginning to prepare measures to deal with these. But, as there are currently none who can accurately understand his divine messages, he is starting with things like raise people who can withstand disease. People who can understand divine messages accurately are rare. Nuaza is a genius in this regard. He has subordinate gods such as Curatos, the god of records, and Niltark, the god of judgment. Belwood, the champion chosen by Alda. In his original world, Earth, he was a university student who participated in environmental protection activities. He had a handsome face and a charisma that attracted people, was successful in his studies, and possessed athletic ability. He was a person blessed with many things, but after he began focusing on radical nature conservation activities, people drifted away from him. Things changed for him completely when he was summoned to Lambda, and as Lambda was an ideal world for him in which an industrial revolution hadn't yet taken place, he made efforts in various areas. Things were going well at first, but his conflicts with Zakhart and his companions grew fiercer. The rift between them grew, causing them to part ways in the end. The Demon King took advantage of this, and Zakhart and his companions were lost. The Demon King was eventually defeated despite this, but it was a narrow victory with over 99% of the population at that time being lost. After that, he fought against Vida alongside Alda, with righteous indignation because she turned the soulless Zakhart into an undead and gave birth to vampires and ghouls, races that have a bad image on Earth. In his eyes, she was toying with the dead and with life itself. There is some truth to his claims, but he has the kind of personality to not listen to others. He would say words like, "Let's discuss things," and "We'll understand each other if we talk about it." But if one actually argued with him, he would shout his points and interrupt the points of others, especially those disagreeing with him, so that proper discussion was never reached. Because he simply says things that are comforting to hear, he seems like a good-natured person to those who think like him. His ideal is a self-sufficient lifestyle with no electricity or steam engines. He believes that this is the true form of man. As magic does not pollute the environment, at least Belwood did not think that it does, he does not restrict its use. Incidentally, most of the things written in the picture book Vandaloo read in the past are true, and all of the women that Belwood loved survived the battle against the Demon King. After death, he attained divinity and became one of Alda's subordinate gods. But he and the evil god of sinful chains struck each other down. Vida, the goddess who originally ruled over the life attribute. 100,000 years ago, she created her own circle of transmigration system for this world, and new races to aid in the world's recovery, and built a city using Zakhart's knowledge. However, Alda, Belwood, and the others assaulted her, leaving her with a deep wound and robbing her of her divinity. That wound still has not healed to this day. She regains her consciousness from time to time, but she spends most of her time in a helpless state of slumber. Her personality is the complete opposite of Alda's, not caring about formalities and rules. Her teachings are simple. She does not impose complicated ceremonies and harsh training on her believers. She has a broad-minded personality and doesn't care about the small details. As a goddess, she rules over love and life, but as she also governs the evolution of life and the struggle for existence. She encourages competition in society. Victors should be praised, while the defeated should be loved so that they can stand up once more. This is what she teaches. As one might imagine from the fact that she gave birth to numerous new races within a short period of time, she is quite a wild goddess. Her teachings place no importance on virginity, so the female saints who served her acted as sacred prostitutes. Zakhard. His real name is Sakato Keisuke. He was a young manager of a small factory. Though he dreamed of being a forensic scientist during his days as a student, various circumstances forced him to attend a technical college and inherit his parents' factory after he graduated. He is well informed on various miscellaneous subjects due to his hobbies, but he was about to hang himself after his factory business failed. This was when Vita selected him as her new champion. His looks were average and he was not athletic. The ability he gained was creation-oriented. He was not a very champion-like champion. This showed in the way he thought in the battle against the Demon King. Bellwood and his companions said that it was a holy war to protect the world. But Zakhard was the only one who thought of it as a war between invaders and the world's native people from the very beginning. As a result, he was able to successfully make numerous evil gods switch sides. However, this achievement caused distance to form between him and the battle-minded champions, and also attracted the Demon King's attention. He had the type of personality that treasured harmony within a team. Before he knew it, he had become the peacemaker among the creation-minded champions, and clashed often with Bellwood, the leader of the battle-minded champions. Though Bellwood shouted his own opinions without listening to those of others and tried to overcome holes in his plans with sheer strength, Zakhard knew that the champions must not be divided. He continued to pacify his companions and support Bellwood. However, unable to endure it in the end, he began following his own path. He had some radical thoughts as well, creating a plan to develop and make use of the most powerful, most environmentally harmful weapon among the chemical weapons of Earth. He and his fellow creation-minded champions had their souls broken by the Demon King. The fragments of their souls were recovered by Rodcart, turned into a single soul, and, through a 1,000-year reincarnation, became Vandaloo. Gurudanis, the Demon King who appeared from another world and began an invasion of Lambda. His power is said to have been so great that he could have exchanged blows with every single god on his own. In addition, he was able to break and destroy souls, something that even the gods were not capable of. With this ability and fear, he ruled a multitude of evil gods. He possessed the ability to simultaneously shield himself with barriers against both physical and magical attacks, as well as plenty of other troublesome abilities. He somehow imitated Rodcart's Circle of Transmigration system, and using this he created monsters that had never existed in Lambda before. Most of the monsters that exist in present times originate from the Demon King. He decided that it would be not Bellwood who possessed exceptional ability in battle, but Zakhard's knowledge that would one day drive him into a corner. He disguised himself as one of his own soldiers and obliterated Zakhard. Riley, a former member of the Five Colored Blades and former companion of Heinz. However, due to a difference in opinions, he abandoned Heinz and left the party. When he was in the Five Colored Blades, he was obsessed with achievements and deeds, and was even vain at times. But, at the same time, he was also a helpful and good-natured person. Riley tried to accept the differences between him and Heinz, but became more unrestrained after he and Heinz parted ways. He was praised for a short while, just like the protagonists of heroic folk songs that he had dreamed of, because of the deal he had made with the vampires. However, he is currently known in the Merg Shield Nation as the Fallen Hero, and it is as if he was never treated as a hero at all. Just as Palpapek thought, Riley did have talent, but this talent was something that he was only able to display for the first time because of his companions who possessed the same talent. Even up until the moment his soul was extinguished, he never realized this. Jeannie, Messara, Flark. Riley's 3 criminal slaves. Vandaloo resurrected them as undead after Borkus cut them down, but as he recognized that they were useful, he did not include them in the disposable army and kept them in Talosheim. Genie is useful as he knows about the Merg Shield Nation's underground society, the Adventurers Guild, and can even be used as a scout, which Talosheim lacks even with the ninja unit. Messara possesses enough magical skill and know-how that she rose to the position of master in the Mages Guild, and Vandaloo has acknowledged her knowledge in forbidden spells. Flark has the knowledge about the Mercenaries Guild and was born in a farming family. They are being made to work in Talosheim. Vandaloo has heard about their pasts from the spirits that were haunting them, so he doesn't have a particularly good impression of them. But even so, he has decided that they are better than Riley. Flark, in particular, has become a cheerful, talkative zombie who works hard in the fields where tomatoes are turning into monster plants one after another. Bormac Gordon. He is a high priest of Alda. He failed with the 3rd opportunity to kill Vandaloo that he had prayed for, and as a result he was killed and turned into an undead. In the end, he mixed up Vandaloo with Alda. Due to the acts of destruction he committed under Vandaloo's orders, his reputation plummeted to the earth and his influence in the Church of Alda has fallen as well. Not only the Church, but the Empire and the Merg Shield Nation are also trying to extinguish the flames and restore his reputation, but the image of Gordon opening a large hole in the city wall and emerging through it is so devastating that his reputation won't recover as much as they would like. The reputation restoration was going well for a while, but people began blaming the demons on the other side of the mountain range and advocating a war for revenge, so it was hastily stopped. Other than the Church, everyone is now considering whether it might be better to treat Gordon as an evil person. Most of the disciples he was teaching participated in the expedition, with the exception of those who couldn't due to age or injury. The fact that all of them were annihilated was a headache-inducing problem for both the Church and Alda. Incidentally, there are numerous priest-warriors and saints in the Church of Alda who surpass Gordon in terms of strength in battle. However, Alda had taken notice of him and considered him a candidate to become the next heroic spirit, because he was a hero acknowledged by many. No matter how much power one possesses, if he remains unknown, he is no more than an unknown strong person, and can never become a heroic spirit or god, beings who are widely known. Viscount Berno Balchese, the person who suffered the most damage in the 3rd volume. However, the Devil's Nest that he turned into cultivated land had originally been the land that the ghouls were living in, so Vandaloo simply thinks that Balchese reaped what he sowed. Of course, ghouls are treated as monsters in human society, so only Vandaloo and his allies would think that way. The fact that his cultivation project has stopped caused him economic problems, but a project to construct a fort overlooking the Boundary mountain range has begun under the leadership of the Amid Empire, so he is somewhat able to breathe a sigh of relief with that. His children and grandchildren will likely be severely troubled by the fort's existence, but Balchese will be praised as a benevolent lord for the fact that Balcheburg was successfully defended, and the fact that it could recover economically. Langel Mavid, a general of the Amid Empire. He is a member of the army, but he is the political kind, so he possesses almost no individual fighting strength. He has gained many benefits through his dealings with the pure-breed vampire Ternesia. He tried to maximize his glory through his expedition, but met a cruel end. In the Amid Empire, the Mavid family of earls has been crushed, and Rangel's eldest son and heir has been murdered and covered up as a suicide. His other children have fallen into tragic circumstances as well. The more Viscount Balchese's reputation increases, the more Mavid's name becomes synonymous with corrupt noblemen in the Merg Shield Nation. Cesare tried working his spirit hard in Talosheim, but he was deemed to be useless after all, and turned into one of the golems making up the city's walls. Cesare Legston, the second son of Earl Legston, the former marshal of the Merg Shield Nation. An unfortunate person who got caught up in the pure-breed vampire's conspiracy. He is mediocre as a commander, but he is the coordinating type of military officer and performs well in doing civil official-type work, so he is a versatile individual. Vandaloo has acknowledged this and appointed him as general. Borkus, being someone who cannot do desk work, is another reason for this. However, though he is a general, he works not only with military business, but bureaucratic affairs as well. Though he says he would have died of overwork if he wasn't already dead, he works like a workaholic and presses Vandaloo to establish things like a national flag, currency, and laws. Incidentally, the Black Bull Knights Order is working in Talosheim, acting as opponents in mock battles for the ghouls to learn the arts of war and human-style group fighting tactics. Thomas Palpapek. As a result of Vandaloo's counterattack, he has been reappointed as marshal. However, rather than this being an achievement, he is now drowning in a whirlpool of work that is enough to make his hairline recede. Now that only a third of the Merg Shield Nation's elite forces remain, he must return these to their original force. But before that, he must put the forts along the border on alert status so that the Orbom Kingdom doesn't take advantage. He is so busy with work that he doesn't even have time to plan things. He made a plan to cast Riley away, but it seems that he is now regretting not simply having him murdered. He believes that this is all Vandaloo's conspiracy, but as Vandaloo possesses no information on the political relationships in the Merg Shield Nation and the Empire, everything is simply a coincidence. Marshuzarl von Bellwood Amid, the Amid Empire's current half-elf emperor. He is handsome and clear-minded, placing more importance on benefits than emotion, but he doesn't take the emotions of others lightly either. He does follow Alda's teachings, but his religious piety is non-existent. It is merely a show. Even the persecution of Vida's races is something that he maintains out of convenience in order to avoid causing dissatisfaction among the people. He is interested in Vandaloo, who is able to command the undead. He wishes to acquire Vandaloo as someone to work for him from the shadows. However, this is an offer to which Vandaloo's only reply would be, "Definitely not." Not only would he be unable to acquire the social fame that he wants the most, but those resurrecting from Origin would see him as an accomplice in a national conspiracy, band together and eliminate him. Marshuzarl thinks of Vandaloo as someone who can create undead in great numbers and tame them. So while he considers Vandaloo a threat, he also realizes how much use Vandaloo could be. However, he believes that Vandaloo is less of a priority than Schneider. The reason he is leaving Schneider be is because Schneider's power and fame is too much for him to handle. However, he has several special units under direct Imperial command, so he is confident that even a coup d'etat attempt by Schneider could be suppressed. However, in such an event, great losses would be suffered, including the loss of the special units. It would be problematic if the Orbaum Kingdom were to take advantage of that, or vassal nations began wars for independence, so that is something he wants to avoid if possible. The Thunderclap Schneider, the only S-class adventurer in the western region of the Bon Gaia continent. Though he is known for his countless achievements, such as slaying an evil god and slaying elder dragons, he is also known for his terrible philandering. However, he only killed the evil god in a lady killer sense. He is a believer of Vita, who has helped tribes of Lamia and Skyla that he was supposed to have exterminated go further into hiding, and is drinking buddies with several elder dragons. He is a human and appears to be in his 20s, but he is actually in his 50s. He hunted down numerous evil elder dragons, bathed in their blood, and ate their liver sashimi, and before he knew it, he had become immortal. He is the owner of an almost 2-meter-tall body with a sturdy, lean muscle, and possesses an unrefined beauty. However, he calls his silver blonde hair completely white, and thinks of himself as an old man who simply looks young. Almost half of his achievements have been forged. He protects Vita's new races, helps them escape to other continents. Meanwhile, in the shadows, he buries vampires with connections to the evil gods, as well as slave traders and adventurers who specialize in hunting members of Vita's races. His eventual goal is to overturn the Amid Empire's policy of persecuting Vita's races, but the road ahead of him is long. He spends his days whispering, "I wonder if I'll live long enough to see the day," only to have his companions tell him, "No, you definitely will." He actually received a divine message from Vita, telling him to save Vandaloo. But because he mistakenly interpreted this divine message, he failed to do so, obeying the other part of the divine message that he was to follow in the event of such failure, which was given to him to ensure that he and Vandaloo do not become hostile to each other. He has been avoiding crossing the Boundary mountain range. One of his companions is a dark elf warrior chief. If Vandaloo had actually headed for Darcia's hometown, he might have actually joined forces with Schneider by now. When he was young, he was a lively person who loved women, but now he has more or less calmed down and become a health maniac for no apparent reason.